We end the morning with a nuclear power plant. He is about to come on stage. He's building a movement. The movement is Ubuntu. You will hear about it. He has an energy that needs to be shared. So I'm so happy that Mamadou Kwidjim Toure has flown all the way from, I don't even know, Dubai. Where are you coming from, Mamadou? He's flying around. Yeah, it's very hard to follow him. Is there anyone that is like part of a Ubuntu tribe here? Yeah. All right, Mamadou, the floor is yours. The stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank Loic for this great initiative and also for the courage it takes to go the extra mile and pull together this super quality of people talking about diverse things that actually are all interconnected. You know, when you've been in the corporate world, you look at the people in the hippie world, if I can put it this way, like, okay, they're in their own world, right? But point is that those two worlds need each other, right? And I somehow have to kind of go through that journey of experiencing those two worlds. But at the end of the day, you know, when I look back over the past 2 days and I look back into my life, I realize one thing. It's all about love. It is all about love. And I also realize another thing. It's the most powerful energy in the universe. It sounds weird when you say it, but it's true. Everything to do comes from a place of love. Even wars are started from a place of broken love or broken self-love. And I grew up in music. My dad is a musician. So I was doing my homework in most of the time in recording studios. So I was a bit this weird child. But it taught me a lot. Being bathed in music all the time is understanding rhythm and understanding patterns. And somehow it made me good at maths, which was quite weird. But I also understand that everything was really interconnected. So before I start, and as we're talking about love, I'm sure you know this song. Now that we found love, what are we gonna do with it? You know that song? Okay, I'm gonna ask you to all stand. Please. Right, so we've been, over the past 2 days, a lot in the mind, and there's been great intervention around, you know, wisdom of the body. And from where I come from, wisdom indeed starts in the body, right? And it starts with a collective. It starts with togetherness. It starts with what we call Ubuntu. So I'll ask you to say those basic words, this word, after me. Ubuntu. 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 Now I'll ask all of you to hold your hands. No, stand, stay standing, please. Hold each other's hands. Yeah? Okay. I'm going to ask you to repeat again. Ubuntu. 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 Do you feel different? Right? You're all holding hands. We are a community. We are a collective. Some of you don't know what Ubuntu means. Ubuntu means I am because we are. And where I come from, we sit in circles around trees and discuss and resolve problems. We hold hands. When we dance, we make circles. Why? Because we are all interconnected. And we make circles because we reflect what Mother is, a sphere. And this is very important. And I made sure, when I arrived in Europe as a child, to never forget this. Never forget the message from the ancient, the message from Mother Africa, that everything is interconnected. I am because we are. This is what Ubuntu means. And I'm going to ask you now to sing that song and look at each other, right? Now that we found love, what are we gonna do with it? Now that we found love, what are we gonna do with it? Congratulations. So, yes, Ubuntu. This is a word, one of the first words that humanity has ever ushered, actually. And I discovered that. You have Ubuntu in Southern Africa. It means I am because we are. You have it in Rwanda, in Kinyarwanda, they say Ubuntu, that means men and women. You have it in Lingala, in DRC, they say Abantu, which means the people. You have it in Swahili, which means Utu, the humans. And then I went further because I started going deep into Egypt, ancient Egypt, Kemet, understanding. And I realized that Ubuntu, when I look at the etymology of the word, it says Ubu or Abba, which means from, and Ntu, which actually comes from the Neterus, the Neters, which in ancient Kemetic were the gods of nature. Now the word nature comes from Ntu. Neteru, nature, nature. We forget that. The divine is all around us. Right? So, therefore, Ubuntu means from the gods. Those were the first words to always remind ourselves about the divine within us and about the divine around us. And as such, we have a responsibility to preserve, to respect, and to be divine. Now, when you look into all this, this is what led me to the journey, really, of from this big finance world where I was lucky and privileged to actually even go through the back door of finance and understand how money is made. And if you knew, you wouldn't be happy. You wouldn't be happy at all, right? With a view to restore the very essence of money. Of value, of values, right? So we've gone to an environment where I would say profit or margins are made from paper out of paper. And you've got the value of money or the paper of paper that has gone this. Historically, it was linked to physical, natural things. And it got decorrelated to the point where it's going to burst. So for me, having spent that much time in high finance, I understood that we needed to put Mother Earth back into the center. And I chose gold. Why? Besides having my ancestors reminding me the importance, I chose gold because it's something everybody knows. Across civilization, across human history, regardless of where you're from. And it's also something the best nations' elite troops always have in their survival pack is an ounce of gold. You know why? Because with an ounce of gold, even if you're in the deep south, deep down in the Amazon forest, or in the Congo basin, it will bring you back home. So we democratize access to gold and tokenize it, but in a responsible way to show people that we can thrive and live in harmony with the world we live in. So we have a series of technologies that allow us to extract without mercury, without cyanide, and increase the yield. We can trace from ground to gold. We have DNA edible microspray that can tell where it comes from, and that could be applicable to cocoa, to everything, so that we can start respecting the communities. We built a whole ecosystem based on circular economy where all transaction fees, 10% of all transaction fees are redistributed to communities to preserve the environment, to build schools, hospitals in a systemic way. Why? Because what Ubuntu says, if I am because we are, everything is interconnected. Ubuntu is a global declaration of interdependence, not just as humans, but with everything that is. This is fundamental. So as you hold your hands, you feel connected. But as you're sitting, you're energetically all connected. But I wanted you to hold hands to remind you. Now, when you look at that, what is critical in this model was how do we effectively impact change? And I had this experience. I was stranded during COVID in the UAE, and I spent a lot of time in the desert. And a lot of awakening, very much like you were saying. There was no tree, but it was extremely powerful. And I understood one thing. I was with a geologist walking across the desert, and he told me, you see this sand? Without it, there wouldn't be an Amazon forest. I said, wait a minute. How? He said, just because the crystals and the minerals in the desert here are transported to the wind all the way across the Atlantic and feed those trees with all the minerals that it needs to effectively, for the Amazon forest to thrive. Nothing is left to chance, and everything is interconnected. How do we create a systemic environment, business, collective, that always get in mind this whole interconnection? Because if I am because you are, if something happens to you, it happens to me. And this is the message of Mother Africa. This is the message of the ancient. That's why they've sent me here. For us to always remember not just where we're coming from, but who we are, what we are, and why we're here, and how we should effectively, together, come as one. It's a tough construct. Yes. It's a tough construct because I had to deprogram myself. And we all have to unlearn until we learn again, but we learn through the heart, not through the brain. So, I asked you the question, now that we've found love, what are we going to do with it? We're going to act about it. So I want to challenge the audience before I lead to some questions. The whole idea about Ubuntu is get everyone to collectively understand, but also co-create, help co-create this new earth. And you know, faith is dancing today to the rhythm of the sounds of tomorrow. That's what you just did. And that's why we're all here with this mission of co-creating the new earth. So I want to propose a few things which we've been working on and for which we invite everyone who believes to also take part. The first thing we've been talking about, and this is basically under the arc of the Ubuntu Global Movement. And the Ubuntu Global Movement, it's a decentralized movement by humanity, for humanity, and the planet. And it has one single principle: do everything you can that reflects this I am because we are. And we want to lead by example. And as leading by example, we're initiating some key projects besides democratizing access to gold. But one key project that is dear to our heart is who would be interested in building a betterverse? Right? Betterverse. And I'll tell you that. Why? Because I've been in tech for 2 decades, right? And like Tony said yesterday, tech is about what you make of it. And I'm not very happy about so many things I see on the metaverse. And I said, okay, we all have been struggling, especially as entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurs, to one, get our voice heard, to second, get the backing, and third, work together and find the right people who share our views and visions and values for the planet. So why don't we then, at least regardless of where we are, use a virtual space where we all contribute in designing the key principles, and you buy land, but for free. Because Mother Earth doesn't ask us to pay for the land she gives us. And based on different areas, whether it's science, whether it's culture, whether it's design, we co-create this new earth together. The new technologies that are being suppressed today because they're not serving the current establishment, we can go there and showcase in a virtual way how it would change. Nicole was talking about nature-based science. Actually, she's the one who taught me about it. I didn't know that much about it a few years back, and I thought it was powerful. But then we articulate how we could use nature-based science to restore and regenerate, so that whomever wants to see how New Earth is going to look like can just go there. And maybe they will be willing to help, or support, or fund. But what is beautiful about co-creating a betterverse is that we give a taste about what our future can be if we don't have to deal with the resistance of the old world. It's an idea that I'm putting out there. I can't claim I have all the keys, but together we can put it together. And that would be very powerful. Especially for our children. Remember the power of the psyche when you plant an image into a child. Then they'll work towards realizing it. Sure, you've seen the movie The Matrix. I won't go there. Right? So this is one key challenge that I would like to put out there. There's a second one that is very dear to my heart, is how do we empower those who are thriving for change but struggling to impact that change? Why? Because they're not heard, they're not understood, or they can't find the right people to support them. I come in my culture, my mom is Bamileke, which is the western part of Cameroon. And we have a system that is called tontine, right? Where in the village you would meet once a Sunday and somebody would have a project. And the collective in the village would put, equivalent 50 euros, 100 euros, whatsoever, to support that person. But because you have the peer pressure, the quality of the project is generally good because you can tap into the brains of everyone in the village besides their funding, but you can also tap into their skills, and there could also be your market. That's the systemic world we live in. And guess what? The tontine, where I come from, have a 0.2% default rate. The banks, where I come from, has a 28% default rate. That's the power of the community. And this is a reminder that it's no segregation between shareholder, customer, etc. That division needs to end. And we're applying it in our own model, right? Some might say it's crowdfunding. No, it's more than crowdfunding. Because when you crowdfund, you put the money and then you go. No. It's a system where that initiative is all our baby. We are the customers, the stakeholders, the suppliers, the shareholder, the employees, and everything that makes it a success. This is the Ubuntu model we want to put out there, which is based on ancient technology and ancient wisdom. We tend to forget that. And as we do this, where it becomes very powerful, we're going to do it to lead by example. We're doing a security token offering in November, December. And I was trying to think, okay, the success of Bitcoin, if you were not there in the early days, meaning you're a techie, or you know a techie, or you just have the right contact, and then you've become a billionaire, but your whales, like Reza was talking earlier, yes, you're pushing decentralization, but what is your real impact to the world? What's your real impact in terms of energy consumption? And then I thought, okay, why don't we just shift the model, and I'm going to allocate a big chunk of the shares for the conscious community only. And they come in early, and they regenerate passive income by bringing other people in the conscious that they would vouch for, so that you empower the people who want to drive change early. Remember Amazon. People went to buy Amazon products. Nobody thought of buying Amazon shares. And even if they wanted, they couldn't have been. It was reserved for VCs. That's what needs to change. How do we empower the people who are actually the future leader of the new earth to have the means and the environment and the social structure to thrive? Let's hack the system. And I hope once we do that, many others will do it. Why? Because let's say 10 people bring 10 people, whatever, right? You have a network that are not just your investors, that are not just conscious. You give them through a distributed autonomous organization a seat on your board and a seat on your foundation. And collectively we move as one. That's how the future should be. Because therefore you don't need anyone else. You've created a self-sustaining community that thrives and protects. And then we want to mushroom those initiatives. No more going against the grain because your idea is way too original or way too do-gooders. This has to end. Do good is do right. Right? And the last thing, I come from a place where we celebrate. So we were in Ibiza, so Lucien, many of the Ibiza communities here. And then we started, Paula and many of Loic, Magdalena. Yeah, I know. And then we said, okay, why don't we all have, if you want to build a movement, you need an anchor point. So there's a place in Ibiza called Crystal Mountain, where we start activating, but then we do a 24-hour global activation, decentralized global movement. And each location, activation center, has ceremonies, but has also a conference for consciousness to engage, to open people's eyes. Then you start in Ibiza, continue to Cascais, Miami, Sedona, Mount Shasta, Peru, Rio, Brazil, Bali, Goa. You continue over 24 hours, but it's decentralized. The next Buddha will be a community. Thank you. So if you have any questions?
We don't have time for questions.
We don't have time for questions.
Well, we have
you can find me for questions.
No, we have circles.
Okay.
I'm going to announce them here, but you can keep going. You know, we have the whole of Station F just for us today because it's Saturday. So,
yeah, fantastic.
So we'll find you a place
nice
here. But Mamadou, thanks for your energy, building a movement. I mean, that's not so easy. So
no, it is not.
How can we help you? What do people do concretely? What do they do? Like they go to Ubuntu?
Yeah, they can go to Ubuntu website.
What is the URL?
utribe.one.
utribe.one.
utribe.one or social media, ubuntu.tribe.one on Instagram and Facebook and etc.
I would have listened to you for another hour.
Me too.
But we need to. Or you would have listened to yourself for an hour.
No, to you. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Mamadou.
much. Thank you. Bye-bye.